Yo, how's it going, baby? Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to writing or something like that. Bro, we had like so much energy yesterday. It's incredible. And today I'm like spent. I don't know why. It's just warm and wet everywhere. It's like being inside the womb again, dude. It's like awful. Just low energy. This is why I like also I'm like an hour late, to be honest. I just fell asleep. I'm sorry. The good thing is we can't do a long stream today because I go later to work tomorrow. So yeah, we have done a lot of things last time we did writing. It's like a bit more than a week ago because I could not stream on Monday. And last week we did the orc write-up, right? We did a lot of orc writing. Next stream will be art. We need to pin down how everyone looks, right? Like very simplistically, at least. We need to get a new dwarf drawing. Stuff like that. But yeah, I don't know why. We're not probably doing too much writing on these today, just because I want to switch things up a little bit. We need to do a little bit of other stuff, right? So what we need to is get one thing done before we lore-wise before we can head into everyone else doing stuff, right? And that's this one, the War of Unity. So the War of Unity was like the short war, right? Shortly after the nope. Shortly after the Aetherflood, right? Right about here. Dark Age, and then Underdark, Fresh Wolves, Heralds of the Changeling come up to the depths of the earth and just take War of Unity. So let's link this. The time will be improved significantly soon. That's something we need to also get into. So we have like a link back and forth. So with every, please guys, give me 1 second. I need to drink a little bit of like caffeinated orange juice, basically. Caffeinated. Okay. So anyway, we need to ask us a few questions. Like all lore questions, the questions we have are questions. Who? What? Why? When? And how? So who was involved? Who were the factions? So we have like United People of the Alliance of the Aetherflood survivors versus the Flesh Warp. Serving the changeling. Okay, we have this. This is like the first thing. What happened? After the Aetherflood, the flesh warps were driven out of the underground areas below the surface, since their nemesis, the halflings, died during the events of the flood. The flesh warp thought the planet was theirs to conquer, right? Do we call them the Alliance? I know that we had this in the Oh, hi. Since the Aetherflood wiped out the first victim before they could be harvested. Yeah, we're just putting this, like, also just doing a little bit of note-taking first. Since we can rewrite this, however, since the Aetherflood wiped out their first victim before they could harvested. I think we had the wording of the Alliance during the orcs. Not to repeat the mistakes, Superior, no. Where do we have the... Here. This is the one, right? The common word forced the orc population to act fast. Orcish blood ever is strong. Blah blah blah. Work in tandem, the remnants of the species military. Did we call them the Alliance? And there were feelings between humans and orcs. The orcs respected the humans. We wanted to give the faction a name, right? I think it was the Alliance. We call them the Alliance for the time being. Because we didn't want to call them the US of A, right? Oh, that was that. How do we want to call them? Right. Because the other one was like United Species of Eziko or something like that. So we had like USE and which is use, which is super weird. And we had the Alliance. We need... we need a name for that at some point, right? The remaining... the remaining civilization on the planet on Yeah, that's true. Because they the fleshling forces, what were they? They were like basically So the changing forces were basically like yeah. Probably like assimilation into like the changeling, right? If we go with the changeling is basically like I imagine the changeling being some like I was like thinking about the Fallout Master, right? Very much inspired by that, because the changeling seems to be like a god of like people. That's why I go with like the Master from Fallout, just like from like they're also called the Unity, which is weird. Yeah. I could see like a master of the like a spin on the master, right? Because like we have like very many parallels. You have like the Flesh Warp, who are basically super mutants, serving the changeling who wants to do something. Or do we go for like planetary assimilation? Because I don't want to. There's like an obvious thing, right? An obvious thing there, and it's the changeling. The Eziko is the egg, is an incubator for the changeling. But then we have like exactly. Then we have more Warcraft, and also we have the entire thing we have in our current campaign again. The Earth's core is basically something else than a normal core. And then also we have with like the Aether, basically being like Azerite, right? Where it's like, oh yeah, it's the essence of, well, it is the essence of gods. That's what Aether is. But we go into like, oh yeah, it's the planet's essence all of a sudden, which is, I don't like that. Do we want to make the changeling of all things sympathetic? Does the changeling want to flee? But then from what? Or does the changeling want something else? That's the question right now. I sent you that one Tumblr post. Yeah, this one. With like the editorial, right? Where it's like, where they don't care for us, right? But what would the motivation be is the question. What is it that the changeling, at least at that point in time, wants? Because I want to at least have an idea what we could give him as a motivation. We can't say he works in mysterious ways, but that opens up the thing with like what everyone, like every hack writer does with like, oh, he has like a giant idea and then like delivers with like, it's conquest with extra steps. Does the changeling Question. Does the changeling want to end its life? Not because it's like is the changeling even alive? Yeah, I was thinking the other way around. Maybe like just from an idea point, right? Just hang in here. Hear me out. What if the changeling is an alive being, but like its existence is basically very, very limited in what it does. So what it does is it spreads these like mutations through the aether. Basically, it is maybe not the radiation, but like the side effects is like its powers amplified, and through its like spreading, it turns like its thralls into whatever it is they are, and it lives through them, so it gains experience from them. So basically, while it divvies up like to like all the like it divides itself to like all these different people, all these like different creatures, it becomes like an organism that is like there and exists in like hundreds and thousands of different people just to experience life, but like basically not as a parasite or something like that, but just like by the nature of it being there, it just is like going along for the ride, and that drives people insane, right? So it cannot experience anything, but it wants to. But then again, why would it like fight the halflings then? That's the next thing. Must it like that's another good point. Oh, other question. Does it want to sleep and cannot? That is like the next question. Like, there's so many questions. So many questions. Like, if we want to have an alien motivation, we should think outside of like human ones and like want something different, like something opposite, maybe something nonsensical. Being kept asleep does not seem like a good motivation for this, to be honest. Because it seems like the same thing like it always is, where it's like, oh yeah, it is sleep, it's the old god, we need to kill it at some point. Or if it wakes up, the world will end, right? It's like, But then again, going back to your Tumblr post that you posted, does it even have a motivation that it like? Does it even care about us? Are the flesh warps reinterpreting? Basically, like I'm thinking, right? Do the creatures that get irradiated? So I have a question. Look, here it comes, okay? Sorry for like stuttering so much. So, idea. This one, look at this. But then again, if this is the thing, why do witches do that thing? This is like the next thing. So I was thinking like going with the idea you have, where it's like they don't care for humanoids, but the flesh warps think it gives them ideas, and it's like all made up in their head, right? It's basically pretend. Being pretend would like actually help with a lot of stuff. First of all, it would help with a huge aggression. But then it would like throw up the next question, you know, with like, oh yeah, what is this? Why witches? But then again, the next thing is why would the changeling do, like, why would they? No, this is stupid. This is stupid. We need to keep it like 3 things like in mind, right? First, why fight the halflings? Second, why the mutated thralls? Third, why witches who name their subspecies after it, right? These are like the questions we need to ask ourselves. Like this. This is like a very important question because like the second one is like the most important one because it defines how we write our flesh warps post Aetherflood, right? So why fight the halflings? Of course, they want to get to the surface. Why do they want to go to the surface? This is like going with like this. The changeling needs agents. I don't want to go the Nurgle route. I have an idea. Okay. Let's go back to the idea. It needs mutated agents to see. It cannot perceive the world. I think that's the main point about the changeling, right? It needs the material. And then we have like, why do the witches do this? And then the question could be maybe like hopes of bridging the material with the ethereal. Maybe this result of like, does the changing want access to the ethereal plane, which is only possible according to the surface somehow? The question is, why does it want the ethereal plane? That's like the next question. That's a follow-up on that one. I was thinking about something similar as well. Or because we have places, wait, where did I put the planes? There, at the moment here. Does it want to go to some plane? Is there like a reason why he wants to go to one of the planes, and or should we just add one? Realm of the Gods? No, I don't want to go too much into I don't want to go like too much into the into God Wars again. But then we go back to... The problem is we go into Warcraft again then, with like the old gods. I mean, let's be real. We cannot invent the wheel, right? Let's be absolutely real. But yeah, maybe it is a thing for Ezeko, but do we want to be the changeling, the end all is all, right? That's like the next question. Is like the changeling the big bad? I feel like being something that is natural makes it more interesting. I think the changeling being something that is... I think that is something that is more interesting, yes. Because at the moment, let's go into... Where is it? Gods and Religions, the changeling. Because at the moment we have this as like the changing stat block, right? Well, the changing lore. We have said worshipped by the flesh warp cults, Lord of Biomutation and Evolution, that makes sense. Also called the ever-changing or the infinite one, broadly benevolent and offers succor to those suffering from mutation. Mutating is the first step in communion with the god. It will slowly influence you without realizing it. Full mutating is a furthest of the bond between mortal and the changeling. Willingness to do so accelerates the process. So the changeling, deeply mutated, they want to be bear the children. This is fine. This is actually fine. Because I think at this point we said the changeling is like absolutely evil. And I like my villain versus villain conflicts, right? I like the halflings being like fighting another villain. But that being said, I like it. I like the part with that you mentioned. I like the part that you mentioned with like being a manifestation of nature and like being born out of early nature worship and tapping into the ley lines. I like the idea that something natural, like there's like so little like major threats to something that is just nature, that is a force of nature, you know what I mean? Like usually it's like something unnatural, basically like arcane, religious, or occult, right? Those are like usually the main threats of like anything, right? Either it's like, oh, it's like necromancy or like a holy conflict or god that is like religious. Then you have like occult is like, oh, dark rituals, weird stuff, the things that cannot be processed, right? On the mental level. Hi, I'm world building for a Pathfinder 2e setting with the members of chat. At the moment it's an Aetherpunk setting, and I want to make it so that it is widely applicable and could be at some point downloaded. So we're writing an entire setting here, at least like refitting everything. We have done a lot of like stuff on like at the moment we call them species, but they're like ancestries and heritages. And now at the moment we are working on God, basically, that is the god of well, biomutation and like evolution, because basically in this setting the world after like thousands of years of conflict fell victim to the gnomes, the goblins, and the halflings tinkering with aether technology, which is like basically the magic manifested in nature, aether. And they basically built, to like quickly summarize, they built their own Manhattan Project and caused the aether that was the liquid aether inside the Earth's core, or Eziko as the planet is called, inside of Eziko's core to like react and flood most of the surface area of the world, which forced most of the surviving civilizations to get their shit together and build flying cities, fleeing to the skies, while for a few hundred years now, the Kodo, or in other settings gnolls, so hyena people, stayed for the most part on the planet's surface, risking their lives and like mutation to bring nature back and put the aether back into the side Earth's core. So basically you have like this setting of like high-tech magical stuff, well, aether punk, right, mixed in with this now rediscovered world, which had like all this history and now needs to get like rediscovered, repopulated, and many of the old secrets uncovered. Basically, that's like the synopsis I would give for the setting. So basically, you have like this like very, very urban setting in the skies, but also like this very desolate and like lonely setting of like all these like past civilizations on the planet's surface, and the exploration that results from this. This is like the idea here. The changeling, which we have the page open right now, is the god of the flesh warps. Basically, flesh warps are mutated people who have like, at least in the setting, who have like biomutations. They're like in Pathfinder and Ancestry that you can play, and we flavor them to be like basically the descendants of that. And they had this long-standing conflict with the halflings. The halflings sadly got exterminated by the Aetherflood they caused, together with the gnomes and the goblins. They don't exist anymore. And so the changeling tried to invade the surface, where like the rebuilding civilizations were resting, and trying to reform into like something resembling like a society. And that caused the war of unity, where like everyone got together and said, okay, now we are doing our stand here, otherwise we got knocked down by the Aetherflood and then get like extinct by the end of this, which would have been bad. Of course, like the societies that like formed all this won and built the flying metropolises later on. But we are like trying to focus on this changeling character, this god, what the goals are at the moment, to define what the war was actually about. It wanted to get on the surface for some reason. And the question is, what does it want? Because we want to give it like a little bit of an alien idea, like an alien goal. Nothing that is like too human, right? It's not survival, and it should not be like conquering. At the moment is we want to give him basically like a goal that is outside of like standard goals you would give like a normal villain. And I don't want to give it a goal like, oh, we don't know, because like this is like always heading for disaster in writing. I feel like But it's like, oh, you do not know what the goal of something is. And then you do not have an answer, so you make something up, and it's usually, oh, yeah, the answer to all our problems is conquest and killing. So, getting back to this, Ikashiro suggested we turn it maybe into the Tyranids. And the changeling is hungry. Is the changeling... Question, is the changeling... Is the changeling maybe like a child? Is that like a weird thing? Is it like in its child form? Does it want to go on a different plane? These are like the two questions. Does it need to go somewhere? Because we have this like thing with the halflings where they know that it's connected to the Aether of the gods that is like sitting in the planet's core. I will do this. I will primal manifestation of evolution. The changeling wants literal change. I like that it's like the literal avatar of change, basically. I like this one. I put this here because I think we keep this one. Yeah, it makes the planet more deadly. We put this here. Born. That is like the thing. I like that the magic has a will, born out of primal magic and tinkering with ley lines by the inexperienced tribes of Eziko. I like the idea that, like, actually the evolutionary they just fucked up, right? They just like the early tribes just like, oh, we have magic, right? And so like the orcs were like tinkering with ley lines. The Kolo at that point were like, oh, we can make plants in the desert. And like some of that tinkering like was the first spark to like birthing the changeling. And I like the idea that it makes like that it's like magic is like basically like everywhere, and that this is like an extension of will, which is why I like the idea of the Aether actually being like still seeping like God's energy or essence into the material, and it just needs to go somewhere so the gods can still exist. And the changeling hijacks this. Like at that point, right? It's just like sitting there and just like sapping power, basically sapping the leftovers of like the god's essence. If you want to like rephrase it, it's living off the waste of the gods, right? I have this like concept in my head, and stop me if it goes too far, but it reminds me a little bit of like for those who do not know, in my Friday setting we are playing a setting based like a little bit like, well, a lot on like the standard Pathfinder setting, at least for like how everyone looks, how everyone acts for the most part, right? But like the world itself is homebrew. And in that we have at the moment, we have like a trinity of gods, Janda, Zeshka, and Orvan. And Orvan is like the god of like basically the trickster god. And he saps basically the domains of his like siblings, because that's what little siblings do, right? They're just like trolling. They're like little shits. They fuck around with their domains, right? Like a little bit. He's a god of storms and stuff like that. And I feel like this idea, I like that you have that god that is like the god of the leftover magic, right? The god that needs to make do with like the power it gets. And I like it for the changeling because it makes sense that this amalgamation of like essence and yeah, like of biomutation basically seeps or like saps the power of like the leftover powers of like the aether that is in the planet's core, and thus basically also corrupting it a little bit, making like mutations be more common, right? Hijacking it basically. I like the idea of that. Giving it like this like random erratic will, maybe, if we think about it. Very hard, dude. It's 35 degrees here, dude. It's so hot in my room. Giving it like this like idea of like it has many concepts of what it can and will do, because it basically takes like all of these like gods ideas and puts them into one, right? So it wants to like basically like is like very opposite. It thinks that change and evolution comes from eradicating something, and that like love comes from war, and that that basically like peace, or like say peace comes from war, right? So like very like opposite concepts stemming from one another. That love makes hatred, for example, right? Or hatred makes love, whatever. Stuff like this. I think this is like not a bad idea, that it just like evolved wrong, if you will. And so it gave the changelings, the flesh warps, the order to, yo, kill the halflings because they are becoming the dominant species, and that makes change. This will change the world. It did in the end, but like not in the sense that I think a person would interpret it that way, right? You know what I mean? That's the idea I have, at least. I like the idea of that. I was looking at... I actually was looking when we were looking at the planes. I was looking at Nahul. And was like thinking, huh, what if they want to go there? At the moment, I can show you. So we had like humans, humies. We had we have an age for this. I know this because we talked about it with the orcs. Here's the hand, right? Where did we put? I think we had it in the orcs, right? Elf surrender. We need to also like color code the orcs at some point. In the interim, orcs spend rebuilding, improving their own situation. Orcs culture. Where's Korok? In the aftermath, enemy. We have here the ugly head. Where's the last time we have Korok with the humans? Here we have Korok, right? So we have it at the end of Heritage War, humans come, right? Heritage War, this would be... This would be like 300 years before the Aetherflood, right? Because here we have the Colo. Exactly. Because we have the Colo being freed. So this is like with our starting timeline, right? This is where the Colo free themselves. So the Heritage War is over. And then we say, we can do this like this. Let's say like 10 years after the Heritage War, right? Heritage... no, we say like this. Colo become free. Become Colo. Heritage War ends. And then like we do like what? 10 years after this. Humans appear on Aziko. This we turn red because we have this question we had it the last time, and I did not dare to put it in here. And let's put the humans here. So yeah, let's go back to the changeling quickly. I will link the changeling quickly. /link to page, and we say changeling. And the changeling wants wants opposite wants to achieve ends with the contradictory methods. Peace through war. Unity by division, evolution by extinction. This is like yeah, exactly, freedom through control. We do this and we say love through hate. So basically like everything like contradictory, because it just and this is like the reason for this. Reason by tapping into the god's aether. It's dude, it's so hot, sorry. I think the god's aether has a warped view on reality to the point of severe contradiction. Something like this. We know what we mean with this by now. We are putting this into like a good text later, just like so we have like some things we can go along with. And now we have wants to go to Nahul because it is not able to perceive reality itself, it is limited by the sense of its minions. Yeah. Let's give this. I put this behind this because it is not able to perceive reality by itself. It is limited so it can only see into basically like into what is de facto the ethereal plane, right? But why does it want to go there? So body and mind are whole again. It can only see through Aether and that which has been warped by Aether. Wants to go to Nahul because it wants to yeah experience its own creation. That is a very good idea. It sees Cola desire for experience, human longing for death, orcish sense of superiority, etc. Yeah. I think that is like a very good concept desires to live. Yeah. it would be just like putting it in here in brackets. It would be kind of funny though if it fucking hates vampires. It would be so funny, right? Like, as an idea, that like the eldritch horror god of like flesh warping would be like, dude, I draw a line at vampirism. Undeath. I just imagine like the anti-undead spellcaster that is like, yo, I'm for the changeling. He hates undead. I like that. But now he has like a motivation, right? Better mutant than a vampire. Why do I hear the X-Men theme? I was doing a joke. Okay, I'm saying it. I was like right now thinking about X-Men, and then I was like, oh, the Changeling Men, so the Sea-Men, and I was like, no, I'm not saying this. No, I did. Sorry. Anyways, we have this now. Now we have enough motivation to go back to the War of Unity, right? And say, okay, what was going on? With the arrival of humans, I can't write humans for shit. Humans. The goals changed. The changeling wanted to find the humans and use their knowledge of extraplanar travel to find Nahul. Since the Aetherflood put everyone into confined spaces, the humans were pretty easy to track down. Easy to find, right? It's like this. Now we have this. We just want to have like this like defined before we go into like, oh, we write a text out of this, right? Did the changeling learn of the other species by absorbing whatever halflings survived the flood? Why it turns so aggressive? This is why it turns so aggressive. I think it should have learned about the I like the idea that it takes a little bit of whatever it takes and absorbs and puts it into its like, well, genetic like construct. So basically, what I want to say is, could it be that we go like in like a little bit of the cell or in the to like Super Boo route, where like the absorption of someone changes its personality, and because the first thing that it just ate were halflings, they had like a very aggressive demeanor already. And if they did not do this, like before that, it just ate Underdark creatures. It just ate like some like Goloma and something like that, who were like very skittish, and then the halflings came. And then it consumed the halflings, and it like the halflings are just way too aggressive compared to the Goloma submissive streak, where the Goloma are like skittish and are afraid of like anything. So they just overpowered it like personality wise, and then they just like steamrolled from there and got the halfling drive of achieving your goal no matter what the cost is. Vision to the changing completely absorb the deities of the gnomes, goblins, and halflings. I am not 100% sure if we do it like this or if we say these deities became dormant. Because another God Eater would also be a little bit too much. I've over the years I've gone away from like the God Eater, because the God Eater is just like, it's like so final, right? It's like so final. It's especially since I didn't like at all. Like, let's be real, let's be fair, and like let's be honest. Like the last God Eater thing came, basically I just had it and was like, yeah, this is like making some sort of sense. And I was like very like green in that point, and it came out of nowhere. At least for this campaign, for your campaign. While for the other campaign, it had more setup, because it was set up like very, very early in their campaign, and I want to tie that a little bit together because of the overall God theme, which is like stupid. That was a stupid idea. I should have just not done this. But like the God Eater thing is like very Final Fantasy, and it's like, I don't want the Changeling. I want the Changeling to be a threat and its forces to be a threat, but I don't want the Changeling to be Sephiroth, right? That is something that I would be. But then we have like subsume their faith first, then starve the deities out, and thus took over the qualities of the halflings. At the moment, I'm like a bit jumpy on like if we want to, because the Changeling, I like the Changeling as like, oh, it just gets basically the waste, right? And the waste makes it what it is. This like weird amalgamation of anything. Did the Changeling plan this? Or did it like plan anything? I'm thinking about this right now. Let me think. Thinking is hard during these temperatures, sorry. Since we have a... I'm thinking about this. The thing is, I want to keep the... I think we keep like this... What we need to keep in mind at the moment, we have like... we have defined the Changeling as like a nature threat, a natural thing, right? That has the capabilities of like living through like taking qualities of something through the aether. Could it die and reform? But then it would not hate undead, right? Because it would be undead by its definition. And the primordial nature deity stitched itself together with whatever thoughts and prayers were at the hand at the time. The dying wishes of the GGHs. Uh-huh. I like that idea. Maybe it did... Maybe it did not die. It nearly died. But then like it would be very Changeling living through death, right? It would be like very on brand for it. So we have to say changing takes a massive hit. That is like something we should keep in mind, that it got fucking nuked. Changeling, it did take a massive hit by the hand. And then we have this. No, why does it want to give me AI? Go away. And then we say stitched itself back together. By with the power of the final prayers to the gods of the rightfully lost. I think that is like something we can go with. But then, like, yeah, exactly. Like they basically, like, the thing was nearly dead and now it's back and it's like super aggressive, which is why it already attacks like through the dying wishes. The dying wishes of the right fully lost. The changeling became more aggressive and tried to take the land by force. So this is just a what it tried to do, and then like society on the surface united and fought back. They won. So this, the changeling became transformed. Passivity turned into aggression. I like that. Death into life, and growth into conquest. So now we have society on the surface unite and fought back. They won with the help of the orcs. This is like very important that we put this in, because we had it last time with like the orcs being like very, very useful in like treating radiation, right? Of genetics, blood, and mutation, right? This is like very, very important. Then we have like I think we should put this in, just that this is like one of the main reasons. We could go into like super much detail who did what, but then we go into like 20 people. as well as ritualistic practices. I cannot write practices because I'm stupid. Used since ancient times to heal those affected with aether poisoning. If we go like too much into detail, we're like doing 3 streams of like, okay, what did who did what in this war. We go to this later. They deserve a... Okay. How so? What do we do? Ah, okay. Yeah. That's true. I did some during work, during my break at work, right? When I did like when I was doing like my break, I was like drawing because sometimes I just love to doodle. I usually use my breaks during work to just like take notes for my sessions and stuff like that, because that's like just 45 minutes where I just can like lock the fuck in, especially during like my lunch break, and just like think and just note down some stuff that I want to expand on later for like my sessions. But today I was doodling and I was drawing an orc, and I don't know why it came natural to me, like just not thinking about the setting. I was like, okay, I draw an Eziko and orc, right? Like war people. So I drew an orc, and then first thing I did was drawing him casting like magic. Basically, the orc was like in like a coat. I don't have the drawing with me, otherwise I would just like show a photo. Basically, like in like a stylized coat and stuff like that. But then like casting like natural magic together with like a medicine bag strapped to his like waist, like a small one, like a med kit, right? Like it came natural. I did not think about that, like, oh, these are my healers, right, in the setting. But it just came natural to me. I don't know why. I think it fits them very well. I like that the orcs are healers. It's very different and not like very Tolkien-esque, which makes it already stand out a bit. But also, I like the creative idea of them being like, again, like the idea of back in the day that they had this in the bag and they fumbled it for like over 1,000 years, right? Of like, just like doing other stuff they were not good at. Why did this happen? Changeling wanted to take over the surface world and try to use the humans to get to Nahul. The people on the surface just wanted to survive and not fall to the first threat after the Aetherflood, right? When did this happen? Well, we have the timeline here. It happened. We said a year after the Aetherflood, right? Very, very timely after the Aetherflood, right? Here. 1 AAF to 3 AAF. One AAF to 3 AAF. How what? How did this war work out? It works better in German, where you say wer, wie, was, wo. Wer, wie, was, wo. And warum? How did it happen? I don't know how to answer this. How did this happen? By killing each other, right? That's like the easiest way to explain it. By war of attrition, right? Nobody had resources anymore. The flesh wolves were driven out of the underground, while the surface dwellers were like struggling to survive. And tactical planning by everyone on the surface. This is the only way how they survived, right? They had jack shit. They had like the Dark Age. They didn't have like even like they had nothing. Right, this is like another nice idea. Decisive. The changeling halted its advance after absorbing too many surface survivors, having to reconfigure itself. This gave an opening to drive its forces back. This is the main thing we need to know about the War of Unity, right? We don't need at the moment, at this moment, to know more. We just need to know what happened. And now we have the Changeling done as well for the most part. Of course, we don't have like what the Changeling does after this, but this gives us a lot of perspective on if we want to go and write more of these. Because we can go and just now like take any of these. And I think we have like all major events done. The only one that we have not talked about it at all, not at all. There's like one big player, and I know we should not put it into species. So we put it into like slash page. Yeah, I like the idea as well. I like also the idea that it has like this like it just has like these conflicting ideas now, because when it gets to the surface, it eats a human and tries to get the info, right? But the human is just like, yeah, I want to go there as well. I just want to like my goal is like to meet Saint Amatus again and get his wisdom and learn about death and why it is the way it is, what death is, right? Why we have to die, stuff like that. We don't need to go with the human like death cultist 100%, especially since we said like they honor death, right? They honor death, but they're not like suicidal. But like they want to understand the concept of it and why it exists. I think the humans being like very philosophy focused on like the end of life is something that is like very cool. It gives them like a very different focus than like, oh, we are the normal guys. I'm also saying something that I'm not 100% confirming right now, but I think we give human an alternative skill progression. Like orcs and stuff like that have, which would be I think humans, if I can like pick 3 and at -1, would say humans get constitution, wisdom, and maybe I'm not 100% sure, I was thinking about either intelligence or something that is like not physical. I don't want to give him a physical stat. I think humans are very average physically. We can give them strength, but I don't want them. But I want to minus something. And I want to minus on humans probably Dex. Or Charisma, one of the two. But I'm not 100% sure. I'm not like locking down on this right now, because I feel like humans would be wisdom focused, because humans are by definition in this setting very religious, and also humans' constitution, because they're survivor species, and also humans in the real world are very endurance based. We're like one of the best runners, we're the best runner on the planet when it comes to endurance. So we should have this. I hate it when RPGs make humans the baseline and they're just baseline peeps. We're just very good at tanking shit for like compared to other stuff, right? We have a very good heal factor. We're like actually humans. We're not as good as like a chameleon when it comes to like some lizards when it comes to like growing stuff back. But we can we're not fucked when we have a broken leg, right? It's just like, oh yeah, if it's like not shattered, it's like, yeah, it can grow back. You just need to like keep it still, right? Humans are like very impressive in that regard. Our superpower is being tanky and having a high endurance. Even though we're like, I don't want to talk about people with asthma or like people who are like overweight or stuff like that who will have like less endurance. But like the base trained human has like very high constitution, I feel like. But yeah. Anyways, we need to talk about other species, NPCs, because we have like a page, and this is like one of the main things, and this is why I said this. We have not talked about these guys at all. We have also not talked about these factions at all. Like, those are one of the main two things you have in like stuff like this, right? What did the fucking giants and dragons do? I don't want, we can go into this, we don't need to, but we should keep this in mind, right? Also, I'm giving these things now funny things. Give me species. Let's take one of these funny emojis. Let's do this. Gods and religions. Religion. I know I don't care what the fucking thing is, but we're taking. Do we have a church? Let's take this. We have law. Let's take a book. Question. Won't giants actually be a problem in this setting because humans aren't native to Eziko? Yes, and because we can make the giants different. Make the giants not look humanoid, right? Or what do you mean? Globe. I want to have the globe with Europe because we're in Europe. Tech. Cogwheel. Speaking. Dragons. Like, for example, right? We could make exactly. I was actually thinking about this. Give me 1 second. Because I don't know if I don't want to accidentally dox myself. History. I mean, like, look at Rockbiter, right? We can make giants elementals. Like pure elemental guys. We can make giant like things that are just like forces of nature as well, right? Like, which is why they are not affected by the Aetherflood, for example, right? They cannot mutate because they are like magic or something like that. Or they're artificial. Maybe giants are artificial. Maybe giants are just... A giant is a giant version of a golem. We can't do anything. We just need to take like traits from them away. For example, humanoid. And then they are not humanoid anymore. This is what this is where I was going, like, when you said Rockbiter, actually. I was like, are they just like the, like, elemental people? Just the baseline of that? And a giant is just a greater djinn? Is it like this? Where it's like, oh, yeah, like, they don't stop growing. And the giant is that thing? Let's put this down. Questions for this. So we say, what do we say? Definitely, we say bold letters. They are not. Oh, this is not bold. Why is it not bold? It was bold before. Fuck. Bold. They are not humans. Human-like. Gasp. The next line. Let's brainstorm. Brainstorming. Are giants elementals? Are they a djinn? Are they the ancient version of djinn? Alternative. Could they be constructs? Last alternative, which I also like. Are giants related to gods? Is Hercules is like our Hercules a giant? Ents and Entwives. I like that they are male hags, but uncorrupted. Do we put Ents into giants? Are Ents giants? I just put them in here. Ents plus Entwives. Male hags. There's like many things we can do with the giants, right? Which is why I say the music is very loud. I'm very sorry. Why didn't you say anything? It should be in the background, not the main thing, right? With the Ents and the Entwives. I think I don't want the giants working together with the changeling, because this gives like the problem is, even if you have like a little giants, right? I'm thinking about, I don't know how the storm giants in Pathfinder work actually, but like, and I think about the storm giants in D&D. Storm giants are looming, blah blah blah. Most storm giants have akin to crystal blue. I have another tab open with the storm giants. I will open it up for you so you can see it too. So Pathfinder 2E, what do you have with the storm giants stat wise? I know you cannot see everything. I'm very sorry about that, but yeah. They have lightning blade. They have thorough walk, white swing. So they are like very normal. They have like control weather at will. This is like the thing. This is what I was thinking about, because the storm giants, right? And then we blue. We can do with them whatever we want to. A typical storm giant stands 21 feet tall. 21 feet is not that big, right? It's like 6 meters, 7 meters, right? It's not that big, but like in 5e, just like to say this, there's like some settings where there, especially like the Salt Coast stuff. Yeah, but I say it's not that big. I know it's big in relation, but like there's like salt marsh and stuff like that. I think it was salt marsh, where there's like setting books where giants are like hundreds of meters big and are like forces of nature. Like, we need to think about how big our giants are and what they can do, because control weather at will, 5th level, what can it do? You alter the weather, make it calm, blah 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 blah. Autumn. 2-mile radius. So they can change the weather into like in a 2-mile radius. This is like a single one, right? You have to think about this. Like, we need to eat, like, this is like a 2-mile radius is huge. Which, like, why I'm thinking about, like, okay, we need to think about what we want to do with these. Giants are like a thing that is like, if you have them, which I in theory want, I don't want Jotunborn, which is like why I say the Jotunborn looks stupid in Pathfinder. Either you can reflavor them as well, but the giants are like one of those things that you need to think about because they have societies. The dragons, you can like, well, you can ride the giants any way you want, but the dragons also, right? They're like, what do the dragons do? Right? What is it the dragons did during all of this? Are the dragons, for example, schemers? Are they just like ambush predators, right? Do they just like sit in the background and chill? Are they observers because they become so old? Do they die very early, right? Is an ancient dragon, for example, only like 10 years old? Even though they're very powerful. Are they just a burst of like fucking... Are they like going Gojira, right? Gojira. I need to go like quickly to the toilet. I need a 5-minute break. Also, I need to like get out of this shirt and get something new because my shirt is like sweat through. And like thinking so much, it's like... I'll be right back. But yeah, this is something we need to think about. Dragons and giants. Not right now, but this is something we need to keep in mind when we write all of this. BRB.
Computers now have primary control of critical vehicle functions.
Yo, I'm back, and the music is still playing the same thing. We're switching the playlist quickly. Let's listen to Synthwave, because Synthwave is kind of cool. Yeah. Okay, we're back. So, what have we landed upon? With like, well, what are we doing next? We have like so much stuff to do. We can go a little bit into like, we can do like a funny thing and say, okay, we pick one and just do like a little bit of note taking. Get like someone to like, I don't know, take someone and just make them happen. I think at least one of the two between giants and dragons should not have lost the ability to. Okay. Before I consider dragons, I need to know, or we need to pin down what dragons do and what they are. If you want to tie it back to the old law, make it the dragons and compare it to the kobold. What do you mean by that? Oh, that's what you mean. The question for that is, however, if we do it like this, for example, right? What do the dragons do? I don't need them in the forefront. I actually do not want them in the forefront necessarily. I like the idea that dragons are like... You think that dragons respect the kobolds specifically for that? Yeah, it seems like an obvious connection. You're absolutely right. I like the dragons. I have to say this. I like the dragons of Pathfinder 2nd Edition Remastered more than the classical dragons. I didn't like them at first, but nowadays I like them more. Because, like, the old dragons were just so, like, D&D dragons with the idea of, like, yeah, you have, like, the chromatic and the metallic dragons. That is kind of like a very cool concept, but that seems like to be like first draft, let's go, right? Oh, there's red and blue dragons. What can we do? Yeah, there's also silver and gold dragons, right? And that's what they did, and that's how they stuck with it. I like the idea of the magical tradition dragons. Question: do dragons, because they have the they cannot reproduce. Do they do sorry that I go with that, but I played Grand Blue Fantasy vs Rising yesterday in my spontaneous evening stream. Are they like Kelly Kelly fuck. I cannot spell this name, dude. For shit. Yesterday I also did the same. Cagliostro, Jesus Christ. Where it's like, oh, they're like, they just try to reborn themselves. Basically, they clone themselves. That's how they live and that's how they come back. But they don't have like the resources to just do it forever. But like, because otherwise it's like, okay, if you kill a dragon, right? There's like, killing a dragon should be hard, I feel like. They're this old, right? They should have mastered the art of like cheating death for the most part, right? Not the... Exactly. Like, say if there's like an ancient dragon, it's like very hard to take down. And like if they die, they just have like somewhere like their body double, which they grow over like millennia or like over hundreds of years. They're like body doubles that just grow as well. They just don't have the consciousness, and they just use that to maybe like body hop. In the case their body dies, their physical body just gets overwhelmed, and so they have like now time to scheme and countermeasure, or they just wait out their opponent and come back, right? I feel like that is like a very... which one do you mean? You mean Lucius? Lucius the Eternal, right? A master swordsman and the warband leader. His cost reserves him in the body of anyone who he defeats. I like that, yeah. Now you have got me on the wrong toe. Holy shit. Okay, thank you. Sorry, my head is not there. But in reality, became the dragon became Siegfried, right? Yeah. That's kind of a cool idea. No, they're not akin to godlike creature. Yeah, I was thinking the other thing, but with orcs, actually. I was thinking that the orcs, like some dynasty fucker, would just run around and just say, okay, I'm gonna kill a dragon. So we have the immortal bloodline in there, right? I mean, that's how, I mean, like, that would make actually a lot of sense. There's been between the magic schools, as well as the holy and unholy traditions. Aether made them impotent, causing their sterile, yeah, sorry. Sterile, the numbers were stagnant, right? They were just stagnant. Dragons are masters of avoiding death. Killed. They take over the body of their enemy. The question is, so just as an example, right? You play this campaign. You are the character, and now I'm as a wise GM. I put a dragon in front of you, right? You're sitting in this like cave, and it's dark, and all of a sudden, oh no, you stumbled into a dragon. I like the idea. But how so? So we have like two problems we are heading towards. First of all, dragons will die out. They flat out will die out if they cannot revive themselves. But if we go with the route they inherit the body of their murderer, right? Like the guy who killed them becomes the dragon over time. I like that cursed shit where like the dragon slowly takes over, but you do not realize it, right? And in the end, your personality gets destroyed by replaced by the dragon over time. I like that idea. And at some point, it sheds basically its human skin and becomes a wormling and needs to like regrow for like 100 years once it's at safety. The problem is, if you kill one, right? Yeah, that is. I think we the dragons we want to connect to the changeling. I think that would be the logical step here. But the thing is, I'm just like brainstorming. Basically, you don't want to kill a dragon, but basically you can kill a dragon. So if a player wants to kill a dragon, they just die, right? That's like the gameplay thing that happens. This is why I'm thinking about this right now. Basically, like, say you do the killing blow, right? You know your character's toast. They will become the dragon. Or exactly, we do the transformation like very slowly. And the human itself, or the humanoid itself, is the egg. Once the humanoid dies, Bam, dragon. Dragon hatches, chest burster style. Right? And just make the wormlings more deadly. And then it's like goes into hiding. Grows and basically uses magic to alter its body over time. Like grow up the speed. So I would think that dragons would just like love to learn like aging spells, right? Just so they grow, quick. Basically trying to speed run growth. Or or their rebirth makes them regrow very fast. Like over a decade or something like that. Bam, ancient. I like that idea. I think not all of them. Which makes... Like some of them, I think they should be masters of their field, right? So basically, if you make them this, like in the material at least, right? Not in the planes or like compared to the gods, where the gods are more like in their nature, their powers are more like very well, they're very powerful, but they're very abstract, right? While the dragons are are not as powerful, but they're like always masters of the craft. For example, a divine dragon just is good at just doing divine shit. So a divine dragon, like for example an arcane dragon, would go to the divine dragon and just request, for example, healing. And because the dragons have to basically act together, because, well, they're fucked regardless, they do this out of like necessity. But as a drawback, they deal and say, okay, Mr. Arcane Dragon, you do something for me instead. And so like they go to the occult dragon and they know the temporal magic, right? Everyone who knows their shit, like knows it like inherently. They like basically dragon comes out and in like a very short amount of time, you have like a level 10 slinging spellcaster there that is flying, breathing whatever breath it does, and shits on everyone else. Because they have like inherent memory of what they can cast, right? And how to cast it. I think that is like the best we can make out of this. I like the idea that they don't reproduce. Okay, here comes the suggestion box. Let's go. What we doing? Okay. Question about that. How many dragons are there? Because they would die out over time. Like, because there's like only like at the end 5 dragons or so, right? Who did not go insane. I mean, it's like very dire and it's very inevitable. I don't have a problem with the dragons going extinct, but you would think that like high level, like very potent spellcasters that can manipulate time could manipulate like meta as well, right? I like the idea where you're going. And we have the insane thing as well. Just make them more susceptible to the influence of the changeling. Because like the flesh warps go insane as well if they go like for too long with like Aether. With Aether radiation. Just make them like how dragons are. Dragons are inherently magical, right? We know this. Like dragons are just connected to magic. Like they're magic already. So the radiation that is basically magical, right? Magical radiation just fucks them up more because they're like basically magic batteries. So they just like hypercharge on Aether while they are growing up. I think this is like makes a little bit more cohesive sense and binds in the changeling as like this, like they started it and now they're like a consistent problem. They're just a problem that does not go away, making dragons valuable allies against the changelings because against the changeling, and like because they are just there, but they cannot partake in the battle, right? The dragon is the guy you go to like get some advice, but he cannot fight the changeling because he would go insane and fight you. And that makes the dragons go feral. Or if they make them sterile, right? If you make them sterile, the arcane dragons will probably like do the arcane dragons will probably have some body doubles, right? Because that would cloning is like in the arcane traditions, if I'm not mistaken. Cloning still does exist, right? P2E clone ritual. Let's see what this does. Crafting. You cannot see this, but it's crafting legendary. Like here. I would not have thought this. This is okay. Okay, let's scratch this. This does not fit into Pathfinders. How it works. So let's do it like this. Look, let's do it like this so we can do this. Let's take your idea. You mean like in a sense where they, if they come too close to each other, they would both go insane? I like this. I like this very much. But now I imagine, I know it's weird, but hang on with me on this one, because like I'm going with like an example right now, and maybe it's like a bit too much, but you're an Ezekoan, you're sitting on your flying island, right? You're sitting like in Haven, for example, right? You're sitting there, watch the surface world, and now you see like these two giant lizards, these like primordial godlike beings, right? Like these like kaiju just meet each other for the chance of banging, so they create a dragon somehow, and now they just go feral and beat the shit out of each other. It would look kind of cool, not gonna lie, and I'm all for kaijus and like giant ass dragons beating the shit out of each other, but exactly. I with it, like the last thing, I'm like, I'm like thinking if dragons can reproduce, but only while they are in a mortal body. And that's why they... But then, like, we have suicidal dragons, dude. I think we were cooking, and now we're trying to get ingredients in there, which are not fitting 100%. I think you were, like, really cooking with the changeling stuff. But I want to get the... Like, I want to have the idea of a... And do we want enemy dragons? Like, 100% honesty. Do we want that? I like them as an immortal force that there's always, for example, like, say everything goes to shit, right? Everything goes to shit for the dragons. There's 10 dragons now. 10. And like the archmages in like the settings, you have these 10 dragons that come back again and again and again because somehow they will find a way to cheat death all the time in their own way, right? Taking over the humanoid that killed them over decades before they even realize. But then, like, again, after, like, the second guy, everyone would know this, right? This is, like, the problem. Because, yeah, of course, like, whoa, isn't that the guy we killed? And after Jeremy Dragonslayer died, the guy came back. And now he's back again. Suddenly, a decade after this. And then, like, after this, they kill... James the Dragon Slayer kills that guy, and once James dies, the dragon guy comes back. Do people interpret this as a curse? Is it known? This is like what I'm thinking about right now, right? I like the idea of the immortal dragon. I like that very much. I like it more than like the dragons just like trying to hate fuck each other. I like the idea of the hate fucking, but I don't like it on the dragons right now. Because I think that the idea we have right now is so fucking good. Like, your first idea was so good, and I'm sold with the changeling. I think so as well. I think, like... I think the dragons are, like, scheming in the background, like, 100% on survival. And, like, only the dragons die that step out of line, or they need to die for whatever reason, right? I imagine, like, the dragons, like, actually... And I'm not, like, I'm a bit exaggerating... But like, for example, the cold and the infernal dragon meeting each other randomly in like new bodies is like literally like a superhero crossover, right? Where they know of each other, but like it's like when the Justice League meets, right? It's like, oh, you're here too, nice, right? Let's do whatever we are doing together right now. We have a goal together. Mr. Occult Dragon, and the Occult Dragon says, okay, Mr. Infernal Dragon, I'm plotting against you while you do not realize. Like, I like the idea of this because it makes them like a dysfunctional giant family that is dependent on each other out of necessity, and they just cannot fuck off the globe. And I think that's a very good idea. The only question is... Exactly. The only question is now, what happens if a dragon kills a dragon? And what happens if, say... So, if you're again, back to James the Dragon Killer. James the Dragon Killer is now inherited, is now inhabiting, or is inhabited by a dragon, right? He's Glorgoth the World Eater or whatever. And Glorgoth is in James' body, waiting for decades to hatch, basically, out of the body. Now James gets shanked by Todd the Rogue. Does Todd become Glorgoth? Because that would make the mythos very inconsistent, and basically very interesting for like the dragon to randomly pop up again. It would like muddy the waters how they actually revive. Like it's like seen as there, but there's like these like outliers, right? They produce Gogeta. Oh my god. Oh my god, you are cooking. What if, just cooking here, cooking with the ingredients you gave me over the last streams, what if this is how the dwarves found out how automaton aether cores work? Because they realized you can... Yeah, because they realized, whoa, wait, the ancient dragon murdered each other and took over one's personality by doing this, growing stronger. And that's how we can backwards engineer. How can we backwards engineer this into like our robots? Oh my god, we're cooking, dude. Holy shit, man. Get in the kitchen, bro. Oh my god. Yes! This is so good, man. We need to go back into the kitchen, dude. We need to go right now. Dude, it's oh my god. Okay, we need to put this in words. We give me 1 second. We need to put this in like many words. Let's do may the nature of the changeling screwed with their magical essence. They tend to go insane near aether radiation. Dragons killing dragons results in 1 second of the enemy. This takes a decade and requires the host to die of natural causes, right? No, that's like this requires the host to die, right? Dragons killing dragons results in the stronger of the two taking in the other's soul, growing into a stronger new personality. The dwarves, I cannot write dwarves for shit, man. Dwarves learned from this, from these tales of times before the Aetherflood, to engineer their automatons aether cores. Dragons thought they could become so powerful to overpower the changeling. Undoing the damage it did to their kind, right? Emperor of mankind, right? I think with the half, I was thinking about the halflings right now. That like the dragons and the halflings are like one of the few that are like ancient enemies of the flesh warps, right? Do we have all the information we have right now? No, we don't have up here. They tend to work together out of necessity to keep their strength as high as possible. No, as big as possible, right? As big as possible. They are masters of their own traditions. They do everything in their power to grow into ancient forms as fast as possible. Okay, this is what we have right now, right? We have like all of this right now. We have like numbers are stagnant. Dragons don't want to die. They just take a new host. This is like by design. They have like done a ritual, or like they basically have like a permanent like thing on them where they just take over the body. The dwarves read about how Dragon Rebirth works because they were like confused, or they wanted to research how to reproduce a breed of like beings that is dying out and cannot reproduce. And so they built automatons based on that. And like the dragons are like very, very, very inclined to go fucking insane once they go to the aether radiation. Do we keep that they drive each other insane? Because then like I don't think I like that at the moment anymore. Because then they would not work together anymore. I think I like the dragon team ups out of necessity more than I like the they just drive each other insane. I think they would tend to like get as least like the least aether radiation as possible. I have an idea. When a dragon, for whatever reason, realizes like this, its mind is slipping, they tend to plot their own death to restart in a new body. This gives like a little bit of power scaling to like the dragons that actually go along the world. And this gives reason why some dragons are just fucking cruel, right? This gives you like your boss dragon fight where they're like, oh yeah, they basically try to like achieve something and suicide run in the hopes that like some adventurer or something kills them, right? Once they realize like, oh, I'm going insane because of aether radiation, before I go like completely... Take damage to save time. What do you mean take damage to save time? Dragons run on speedrun logic. I like the idea of dragons running on speedrun logic. But do they always run on speedrun logic? Because they're like, as we've like established, because like when they don't go insane, they live basically forever, right? This is like at the start, dragon like with like older than some gods. Does a dragon lose its memory on like rebirth? No, right? Exactly. I like the dragon. The dragons talk in streamer lingo. Chad, we have failed to destabilize this entire region. Time to off ourselves and try again in next century with a fresh population. It's like, and then like, by the way, if you want to support my hostile takeover of this region, consider using my link to get some gamer subs. I like this. Consider adding your valuables toward my horde. Links are in the description below. I love the idea that they talk in gamer lingo, dude. Dude, my... This Civil War has been sponsored by Better Health. Also, like the idea, like this entire idea that he also talks in the YouTube censored thing, right? Damn, I need to unalive myself. This is like so funny. This is the idea of this. We cannot do this. We cannot do this. But the idea of a one-shot where you have like everyone talking streamer lingo, that is why Draconic is its own language. It's not that nobody understands us really good, but that nobody wants to. It's so dumb idea-wise, right? Yo, my Draconics, how are we doing? I hope you GTFO off your goon sesh, bro. 6-7 out of there. The other dragons think Mr. Beast's username is a bit on the nose. Yeah. Uh, let's get like a little bit on track. But the idea is so good. So we're like they see failure and the potential death as a reset and plans. If no, I think we keep this still, and then we keep like the they limit contact with other fully grown dragons because of their inherent magic potential and capabilities of radiating aether. Jesus Christ, I'm so stupid. I had like the biggest brain egg in my life right now. Radiating aether. I think that is what we need for the dragons, right? We just need to think about where were they? What were they doing the entire time? Because we have like 2,000 years of history. What were the dragons doing? What they're doing right now is scheming in the background, doing like slight plans and otherwise like suiciding, so they gotta restart. But what are they doing? Do we? Nah, I don't want them to manipulate the halflings. If we make them manipulate the halflings, then we have the dragons being the big bads. It humanizes the halflings too much. I don't want to humanize them at all. They're awful in their own way. Follow me on that. Okay, I will follow you. You will point where we are going and I will follow. Uh-huh. Yes. Uh-huh. I like that the halflings are incestuous dwarves. I like the idea of that. Because we made them cousins already. Like, we make them a subspecies, so it makes sense that they... Is it a bit mean-spirited that the dragons love watching bug fighting contests? Yeah, I was thinking about like having like buying two ant colonies on the internet and then just putting like a connection between the two hives and see what the fuck is going on. But one of the ant colonies is just a little fucked up and deformed. The other one is like a bit murderous and has guns. and you're sitting there with like a lens waiting for like one colony to eradicate the other, so you can just like put like intensified sunlight onto the other to put them on fire. I like the idea that the dragons were plotting in the background to just murder everyone when like the biggest threat is gone. But would they like going back on this? I don't mean this really, because they would not do this, right? With the numbers so dwindled, they would be bored out of their fucking mind. Just thinking about it, like if I was a dragon, right? I'm now 3,000 years old and there's nobody there. I would be bored out of my fucking mind. Like immortality. Who are they streaming to? They're like me. They have like one guy who's chatting with them, the other dragon, and like 2 people apparently sitting in chat saying nothing. There's like 2 lurkers, one guy who's chatting. That's like us. And one of them is probably me because of my Twitch. So yeah, there's like 1 lurker. It's like if I was overacting, right? It's like, it's like I was like, oh yeah, boys, let's do this, yeah. Let's go, fam. But I like Dragon history quickly. Pre-Aetherflood. Dragons gave the dwarves the of the dragons. How so? I was thinking right now, are the giants the people who are like I like this. I like the idea of like basically like going Greek mythology titans, right? Dwarves, the basis for there would be Aether cores allowing mortals to create Golemancy. One of the stupidest things, by the way, that D&D 5e did was like the Golem manuals, and they had like so high gold requirements that you could not do these in a proper way for the level you would get them. And it's so annoying. I know that 5e had like a flanking problem back in the day, but can we talk about this quickly? Dude, if you want to be like a cool Golemancer, you could never do this without doing like a summoning spell and pretending your summon is a golem. This is like kind of stupid. The golem manuals were like so cool, but they were so expensive. They were like, I think a flesh golem was like 20,000 gold. And I think Golemancy is like something that is like very underrated. I love Golemancy. I love having like your giant guy. And this is why I like Summoner in Pathfinder so much. I know it's your JoJo stand, but it's like kind of cool. Like I love the mechanical summon, and just having like your giant robot with you. It's kind of cool. DSA did it worse. How? Other dwarves, other dwarves were guided towards Aether. They went underground and over time turned into the halflings. The halflings were... No, the dragons observed the halflings struggle and did not dare intervene, right? Or did not intervene. Does this take too much blame away from the halflings? Golem crafting was a spell with the highest XP requirement in the system and weeks-long cast time that you had to pay permanent XP and stats to cast. Jesus Christ. Bro, it's a golem. It's a guy. It's like... I don't know why systems... Like, pen and paper RPGs, right? Can I quickly rant? I don't know how every other system in every other game can do like summons, pet characters, stuff like that without a problem. But as soon as you play a pen and paper RPG, they just like way over exaggerate with requirements for a guy that dies in 2 hits. Oh my god. Like, let's be yes, golems in like some RPG systems are like a little bit like over exaggerated with like their immunities, but holy shit, man, it's like when you have like a level 5 golem with you, you tend to be like a bit higher level, and he's like an assist guy. He does not level, so he just gets out leveled at some point. I think it's like so weird that like people, and then like these systems also give away like summons where you summon like 4 guys who are just flanking buddies and HP bars to like block enemies. So I do not understand this, but hey, I'm not complaining. The dragons observed the halflings struggle, did not intervene. No, I have a better thing. Should bases be in, or do you imagine direct interference? I'm thinking right now. I think I kill this line. Give me 1 second. I think that is like the connection we keep, right? I think the dragons just like fucked around and found out, and they just were like, okay, here dwarves, here's like techniques on like how to manipulate Aether into like matter to animate stuff. Then you have like the other dwarves who are like, oh cool, what else can you do with Aether? And they're like, oh yeah, go into the core, and there's like so much Aether you can experiment on, right? And then they were like, okay, whatever happens, however, like there's like I think they warned them, right? I think we say the dragons warned the halflings. About the potential dangers of their research. I cannot write research. Because I'm thinking like that makes the dragons like, okay, if you want the information, you can have it, but it's dangerous down there. And the halflings were like, oh, we don't give a shit. We can win this. And then they got into their own fucking conflict. And the dragons were just observing. But then we need to add this to the halflings as well, right? That they started out as like... And the dragons get fucked over because they were like, oh yeah, let's see what happens. And they fucked around and found out. We can do this also. We will over time need to rewrite stuff as regardless. Like we cannot spoiler, we need to add some stuff later on as well. For example, if we go into catfolk, we will need to go to the elves as well. This is inevitable. Once we go into like these intertwining species, we can keep the halflings out of this. What have we written about the dwarves? Did we have the dwarves defined? No, we didn't. Okay. Let's do like this. Let's see if this applied. I'm thinking about this right now. Do we leave this just implied? Or do we make the... What do we do with the halflings? I like the idea that they're like... That the lizards are like... The flying lizards are just like friends with the bugs. Right? I like that. I like that the halflings are friends. Or like that that they're friends with the dwarves of all people. I think they should be friends with the dwarves, but not with the halflings. I think the halflings are just too schemy, and also like they're like little shits. They know what they're doing. They're not like oh, we're like allied with someone. We established that very much, that they saw everyone as inferior, and I think they're like see the dragon as inferior as well. I would ally them. You know what? Let's see if the halfling's out of this. I don't think including the halflings is a wise decision. Exactly. I think they would not deal with them. I think what the halflings would have done would have just like caused a war between dragons and halflings. And this is like a stupid thing. I think they should have like the enemy of my enemy, right, is my enemy as well, but I hate him less. I think they gave them the basis for like golemancy, and that's how the dwarves learned how to split the aether cores. Like, it's refinement on the techniques the dragons used. Basically learning. I like the dragons as like these mentor figures, right? They're just there. They see them as inferior and they just kickstart everything. They're like the monolith from A Space Odyssey. Just more lizardy and more, well, more schemy, right? Exactly, yeah. I think they just kickstart people with a like. What we need to think about is like a dragon should have like a goal that's like 200 to 1,000 years. And so they just kickstart like small civilizations and give them like some stuff that could help them in the long run, right? They're just like investing is what they do. But we can, because I'm thinking about like, we still have like, lizard folk and stuff like that, right? We said we want to keep them a bit draconic. I think we can do this with the dragons. I think we should like put a pin in here and say jumpstart other civilizations. I write them with an X for whatever reason, for their long-term goals. And we keep a pin in that, so we have the dragons in the background, right? We can like snatch a dragon if we want to ride on something else. I think this is wise. And now we have the giants. We can do the giants as well. So, because this would be like a nice ending to today's stream. So we have like these outside species. We have them covered because those are like core things, I feel like. Giants and dragons are like these like civilizations that exist that are like graspable and make sense. Or I like these giant loner types sometimes. So what do we do with the giants? Just like a quick write up. Nothing too complex, right? Nothing too like big. I agree. Let's do the important things down here. The brainstorming stuff we define later on and like make them fit onto what we define our giants as. I like that. Guardians of the Ley Lines of Eziko. And then we have giants are very sociable amongst one another, but highly destructive towards other species. What do we... Again, how do we define our giants? I love... Again, I'm not against elemental giants. Let the storm giant be a fucking walking storm. aligned themselves with the changeling to clear the planet of other intelligent life. Giants retreated from the from major happenings on Eziko after the hand was fired. They were just fed up, right? I think we're killing this. We're killing most of this stuff, and we're keeping this. Giants are titanic, humanoid elementals that are defined by their elemental composition. So much like how a method can be also like a magma method and a dust method, right? Where it's kind of like mix with each other. I feel like the giants do the same. So we can keep most of the giants, right? Storm giants are like water and air and stuff like that, right? So they have like these like giant as I feel like what I want to say is giants just chill somewhere and then they get up and just terraform the shit out of like the area, right? I want them to be actually like this like giant threat that is a force of nature, because that aligns very well with what the changeling is, a natural force, right? So them being like a natural force with dragons being a magical force, like a pure magical force. Exactly. I wanted to go there as well. Once I wrote that with the ley lines, I was like, dude, why did we not take like the ley line knowledge? Why is it not ingrained from the giants to the orcs? Giants taught early orcish tribes their ways about the sanctity of Eziko's ley lines. Now we have this, and now we need to go to the orcs quickly, because before we forget this. Orcs. Hello. Blah blah blah. Where do we have the word ley lines? Where's the first naming of the ley lines there? No, this is like, there needs to be a ley lines before this, right? It's like the first naming of the ley lines. Where do we put this? Where are the colos? Single burst, blah 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 blah. Techno. Other Orcish tribes would ally themselves with the walking giants of Eziko, learning about the sanctity of ley lines. Okay, just putting this in there. If we need to do like a redraft of this, we have it at least in there. I think do they like the colo? If they want everyone gone, then we need to like think about like what does it mean for the giants to kill everyone? Why would they want the colo to exist? Right? It's like when we have them ally with the when we have them ally with the changeling because they want to wipe out intelligent life. Why would they want would they like the colo? They could respect them. But like is a very strong word, I think, right? Due to how... No. With their bad handling on own society and distancing themselves away from nature, giants started to detest the orcs. They respect the Colo's efforts to heal Eziko and bring back its former beauty. They see themselves as their yeah, this is better, but do not enjoy their company for long because of the Noel's hedonistic tendencies. I want to have a giant be like basically a Titan from Attack on Titan, right? I want to have them like I want them to be huge. I know it's hard to put in gameplay. However, like the guy is like 20 spaces big or something like that, but yeah. Yeah, Shadow of the Colossus, right? They just go around, like when they waken, they just go around and just menace. Because it just makes sense if they're like this huge that they on demand can basically a 2-mile radius. It's 3 kilometers. Imagine like 6 kilometers, right? Roundabout. Imagine 6 kilometers of just radius. Of like 3 kilometers of radius, sorry, of like you manipulating the weather by existing. This is like huge, and I think the storm giant should be like the default of what we take. Giant should be a menace, which is why the giant kin don't make sense, right? As like a player thing. So yeah, what now what do we do with the giants? I feel like the giants are not affected by Aether. I think they should be like the kobolds, be pretty much immune, right? Just so they contrast with the dragons a bit more. Due to their elemental nature. And we'd say giants tend to... I think so, yes. How do you mean? How would you write this? Just out of interest. I like this. I like this very much. Yeah, let's take this. Giants. Timeless creatures. And are nigh invulnerable. They are, however, unkillable. Each giant has some sort weak spot. Relating to their circumstances. I think we can take like a little bit from like Indian naming traditions, right? So for example, like Indian naming traditions like were like very like relating to like the circumstance of birth, right? Which is why many like, well, Native Americans, Native Americans were like very like circumstance based names, and I think that is a cool idea for the weaknesses. That in like how they started existing, like every existence has an imperfection on them, right? And so they're like impervious to damage except for the imperfection that their birth created. I think that is cool. Because I have the idea that like the giant is just like, oh, the giants just started existing and are just like these timeless creatures. And they can reproduce. I think if like giants can have sex. Are giants mammals? Because giants are not really biological, right? They're natural, so they should give birth, right? I think they should give birth. And I think I was thinking about like if we put in that like if the parents have sex in a certain way that they can influence it, but no, this is stupid. This is like some old Warhammer bullshit. That's like no, we don't keep that. But like the birthing into, I like that idea at least. Uh-huh. But behave like... This is better. That is a good idea. Yeah, I agree with that. If they are true manifestations of the lifeblood of the planet, I write that into this as well. They are true manifestations of the lifeblood of the planet. This is very important, the last part I wrote in. I feel like we're writing them as the planet's antibodies. Basically, like, this is why they go apeshit now. Because they were threatening the planet, and no matter who they meet, they just bash their heads in now. They associated with younger species to species out of concern and a desire to nurture. And then we have like basically like, okay, this is like the entire thing now, right? They're just walking the plains. Now, we cannot have like 20,000 giants running around the planet, right? Because like if they're like big and manipulate weather, then we have a problem with the metropolis cities, right? Because they're just flying there and the giants are just a menace to them. Which is why I want to say, once they start to like direct purpose, or once they start to lack purpose, they grow dormant and rest indefinitely until they feel the need to rise again. I feel like they are like a little bit like timeless. They just go sleepy. They just go eep, and that's how like some. Yeah, that's like a little bit better. They're just going into surrounding nature. Like there's like a mountain that could be a giant, right? Doesn't need to be a giant, but could be. And I think this is basically, for the time being, everything we need to know about the giants. Except if you have like something to add. Because the giants at the moment, I feel like they're like, it's a bit weird, but I feel like they're like very similar to Final Fantasy summons. This, right? Yeah, I think you can like manipulate them a little bit, right? But like, if if like the giant is angry, you're dead. Again, I see them like giant antibodies of the world right now. Because we're lacking that species that is like going across the land and just like beating the shit out of like all of these pesky little bees. I think giants should see the new giants should see the current inhabitants of Aziko as nothing more than insects, right? I think they're like they're very indifferent, right? I had this like quote of of like Emmett Selk in my head with like the well, I'm not murdering you because I don't consider you living, this thing. I feel like this is very fitting for like the Giants, right? They're like very much like, oh yeah, no, I do not consider you living because you're like weak. But yeah, I think this is very much this is like very much how I imagine the Giants to be, like just giant forces of nature who just want like the little humies and stuff like that dead. But yeah, we talked about a lot today. Congratulations to us. We defined. So let's recap what we did today. We defined the Dragons and the Giants. We put items on everything. Hooray. And we got the War of Unity done. And we defined the Changeling finally. This is great. We're doing the following now. We're heading off because, well, look at the time. It's like 3.5 hours. It's so warm in here. I need to open up my windows completely so I can finally get some lower temperature in here. I know it's still warm outside, but hey, man needs to live with something like that. So tomorrow, tomorrow's Star Fox stream. Hey, Star Fox Remastered coming out tomorrow. We are doing a little bit of Star Fox. So if you don't want to miss that, tomorrow, usual time, hopefully, I get from work early and we just rush to the PC and just play like 4 hours of Star Fox is like the plan. Same will happen on Saturday. So yeah, Saturday I'm on at a football tournament. It could happen that we don't stream there if I die or whatever, because I'm playing myself. So if we stream, we play a little bit more Star Fox. And once we are done with Star Fox, we go back to writing. And for the next weeks, big announcement. I will try to do a stream on Tuesday. Because we will celebrate into my birthday, hopefully. That is the goal, at least. So from the 30th to the 1st, we're doing something. I was thinking about different things, and maybe I'm boring and I do the long-awaited, nobody asked for it, Dark Souls randomizer and try to clear it in like a quick time to show that I can play this game even if it's randomized, but I don't know. Anyways, I read off now. We will see what we do next week, but I want to celebrate into my birthday, even though it's during the week, in the middle of the week. But yeah, we will see. Anyways, I need to head off. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you around tomorrow, hopefully. Goodbye. Have a good night.